We've a lot to talk about as usual. Obviously, sometimes if you see me stop the video, it's not because I'm learning lines or anything. This is shooting from the hip. It's because something's happening. Either I can see my dogs are going to kick off, or there's somebody coming, my ring doorbell goes off, and I think, oh, he's going to knock at the door, and it's usually Amazon. Or like just then, I'm going to cough or I need a slurp of tea. So it's nothing like trying to get the takes right. There's another woman asked if there's any outtakes. These are outtakes. You're getting them straight off the press. Obviously, there's a lot been going on and people are angry and upset because of what's gone on in Southport. And already the media have refocused, and the Labour Party are despicable. They've refocused onto what happened afterwards with the religious place of worship, rather than the 3 poor little children and the other 8 victims that are still fighting for their lives. And unfortunately, that's what our society does. People know that when these platitudes are offered from politicians like Yvette Cooper and the Prime Minister, that the thoughts are with their family. You only have to look at how they behave when they get ready to go on TV, making sure their makeup's right and talking about other issues. They're not sat there forlorn, grief-stricken like they're going to a funeral. They just want to make sure they look right on telly. They love it. They like going on. I saw it with Matt Hancock. I see it with Angela Rayner now. They've never been more relevant in their life than they are right now, and that is something they get off on. You've only got to look back. It was some footage that got taken of Adam Bolton on Sky News. He was talking to someone like in his earpiece about Beth Rigby, and his actual words were, well, he was bad-tempered and short-tempered, probably because of some timings. I mean, I don't like the man, but doesn't mean to say we aren't all a bit like that at times. And his words were, well, tell her to get her ass down here if she wants to go on the telly. She wants to be on the telly. And I thought, what really brought it home to me was, hang on a minute, Beth Rigby, she's always on the telly. She's never off it. That's why, that's her job, isn't it, to be on telly, reporting on this, that and the other in a very draw way, and obviously quite biased and particularly boring. But nevertheless, that is her job. So why does he have to say to someone, tell her to get her ass down here if she wants to be on the telly, like it's some treat? Because they like it, because it's addictive, because going on the telly makes them feel important. It's an adrenaline buzz. I mean, I get it a bit when I do podcasts and that, and I'm a bit nervous when I go on GB News. But these people, the politicians and the media, when they're reporting on an event, they are not part of it. They are not feeling it. And the way they come across shows it. So they're empty platitudes. Somebody said to me the other day, well, how do you know they're empty platitudes? And I said, because they know they're empty platitudes. You can see the way they're delivering them. And people who are really feeling for them kiddies wouldn't have moved on to the aftermath and the resulting rioting that took place. And then there's always this convenient footage of someone who happens to be a member of the Labour Party, who happens to be helping out on the day, on the scene. Wow, how handy is that? So we're always manoeuvred. We've always been manoeuvred. We just didn't know about it before we got the internet, did we? It was probably always like that. Now my dog's just gone out and opened a door, so if it gets a bit noisy, I'll have to cut and come back again. We'll see how we go on. It's just the farm traffic that's the problem. So we are conditioned to keep calm. That's what they want from us. They don't want us to kick off. Obviously, they wouldn't, because they've got to police it all. They haven't got enough police because they've taken them away from us. And they used to have bobbies on the beat. A retired copper said to me, this would never have happened if there'd been bobbies on the beat, because we police the neighbourhood, we get to know it, that the people in the neighbourhood knew us. And, that style of policing has gone. Now what they do is, whenever there's an incident, they draft people in from other police forces, and, you see them in the riot gear. And obviously we do see a different standard of policing depending on who's kicking off. If you're a certain section of society, you'll get handled with kid gloves, even run away from you. But if you're on our side of the fence, I'm afraid it's hardcore. But my main point for these videos on YouTube is we have all this stuff going on. And we do know the politicians aren't sincere because they're not sincere about anything else. That footage of Keir Starmer saying that he was in whatever town it was, Dewsbury, Wakefield, and it was desperate to think of an old lady who'd been going to bed early, and then as soon as she got up she put her thermals on to stay warm, and now he's took the winter heating allowance off pensioners. I mean, you can't trust these people. It doesn't matter what the topic is, you just can't trust them. So I'm in a group that is lobbying for a more direct form of democracy. For instance, in Switzerland, they run a direct form of democracy. So anything that's big in the country, they put it back to the people. It doesn't cost a lot of money, not like the Brexit one. So, for instance, you can't build a mosque in Switzerland with a minaret. You can't put, the onion dome thing. You can't do that. You're not allowed because they took a vote on it. And 22 cantons, which is like our counties, out of 26, voted against it. So that was the law. And then the full face veil, and the good thing about this, you're not allowed a full face veil or particular types of masks, ski masks and other things. If you look, you can Google it. They took a referendum on that, and the people's vote said they didn't want to see this sort of face covering that makes it difficult to identify people. They won on that. Now, that's the kind of democracy we want to create. We need to create that about all our issues. Farming, manufacturing, laws that prohibit us living our lives. And if you put it back to the people, it can only work with an honest media. Now that's the critical thing. So how do we do that? How do we get the media to be more honest? Well, I've thought about this. I'm not sure I've got the answer, but I'll give it a go. We need to keep on the threads of these big mainstream media companies. We might just be able to appeal to them. I want to say appeal to them. I don't mean they're going to have a lightning bolt moment where they read your comment about getting real and being unbiased and think, oh yes, that's what I'll do. What I mean is, when I say appeal to them, we need to give them something to lose. And we've got the power. We give them the audience. We're their audience. And without the audience, they can't sell their advertising. And without their advertising, they can't pay their bills, can't pay their wages, they can't pay their obscene wages for these presenters that are on 200,000 and 300,000 a year. And that's small fry. Some of them are on nearly £1 million. So we need them to lose their audience. With the BBC, it's quite easy. People are doing it literally every day. They're not paying the licence fee. That's drip, drip, drip. That's us taking back control. We're using cash more. That's us taking back control. We're talking more to other people who don't necessarily think like us. That's also taking back control. There's so many things where we've had enormous success. We forget about it because we're swamped with either the news on the TV that makes us feel like we're on the wrong side of the fence. Why do you feel angry about Southport when everyone's saying they're saddened? Because they're not showing you the people that are angry, that's all. You've got to remember when they do these outside interviews and they've got the microphone there, they might do 10 before they can air 2 of them that are suitable. They only show you what they want to show you. So with the direct form of democracy, that is very much dependent on an honest media. And the way to get it more honest is to give it something to lose, like an MP. The only way you'll get through to an MP is if enough people contact him on a topic that means the amount of people contact him saying they won't vote for him, whoever he, she is, means he's lost his majority. Then they'll listen. They'll only listen to stuff that's going to affect them. Because these are self-centred people. If I went into politics, I would be going into politics to see what I could do for other people. Because I think, well, this is great, I've got a platform now. But these people don't. Most of them are career politicians. It's a job. You don't matter, it's a job. What they're like is fanning around in Westminster, feeling important, getting discounted food, sitting with people that are famous. These new MPs are suddenly sat with household names and minor celebrities from the media, and they're being asked for their opinion on anything that's going on. It's a feel-good thing. It makes you feel more important. So they're getting off on it. So we have to give them something to lose. The celebrity media figures, they are celebrities because we know them, they're household names, and they have magazine articles, and they might do a cover story in OK magazine about their beautiful home, which they've managed to get through exorbitant fees that they paid from people that basically live off the back of us with the licence fee. And then these people, these celebrity people or announcers, sports commentators like Lineker, all of a sudden they've got millions of followers. I think Gary Lineker's got 9 million, but probably 8 million of them are for football because it's a popular sport. But then they get beyond themselves and they start preaching about things that everybody's entitled to their opinion, but not to the point where he's telling you, because you've got a different opinion to him, that you're wrong and you're bad. That's the bit that's wrong. Your view on immigration isn't bad because it doesn't agree with Gary Lineker. Your view on immigration is probably capacity-wise correct, because it's all about sustainability. They'll talk about sustainability with energy, won't they? But they won't talk about sustainability with public services. Have you noticed that? They won't talk about how to sustain school places so that your two kids that are related to each other can go to the same school. Oh no, we won't talk about that. And we won't talk about the fact that you've got massive waiting lists in the NHS, or that some of the doctors are coming in with dodgy credentials. Oh, we won't talk about that. But we'll talk about how to sustain a wind farm that's made of plastic, basically, that's going to be ending up in landfill. We'll talk about that. That comes under their version of sustainability, but trying to sustain the country so it can run its services and its needs for its people. Oh, we won't talk about that. That. Well, that'd make them look bad, wouldn't it? Because unfortunately, we're governed by people who aren't interested in us as a country. They're interested in what the country can do for them on the world stage. And the only thing this country can do for anybody on the world stage is pay more tax. So they'll come up with various ideas like taxing your drive, taking your winter fuel allowance off you. All these little nudges where basically just getting up in the morning is going to cost you more money. So what we have to do is remember that we are fighting back, we are slowing it down, they aren't getting away with it all the time, and we have a right to be able to enjoy our day-to-day life. I get messages from people who say, they feel guilty if they're not doing something about it. Living your life is doing something about it. Getting up in the morning and you buying those 2 gorgeous lamb chops from from farm shop is doing something about it. You using a small boutique for some new clothes you're going to treat yourself to is doing something about it, especially if you're paying cash. You're doing something about it twice, aren't you? And this is what I mean about feeling good about yourself. These are little things that you can do in your day-to-day life that will make a difference. Because if millions and millions of people do it, which they are doing, farm shops are busy. Small independent shops that, boutiques and stuff like that are busy. And that's because we're choosing to use them more. And the supermarkets aren't getting the lion's share. I mean, they've had a corking time during lockdown because they were the only ones allowed to trade. In fact, during lockdown, I think it was Sainsbury's. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong on the thread, but I'm pretty sure it was Sainsbury's because the lorry drivers told me, because I used to run a Help Calais trucker support page when they were getting beaten up at Calais, with the migrant crisis with the jungle and all that. So I was in touch with a lot of lorry drivers, and during lockdown they contacted me and they told me that basically, I think it was Sainsbury's, they had a warehouse that was formerly used for clothing that they had to take over and use for food. There was that much. And another thing, this business of running short of food, during the years coming up to Brexit, the government, to be fair to them, had been stockpiling food and medicine in such a degree, in case there were any funny business, because a lot of stuff's imported from Europe after Brexit. They'd stockpiled things. The army had done it. There were warehouses all over, central points all over the country where diabetic medicines, day-to-day stuff, bandages, stuff we need for the NHS, food, that was stored in extra capacity in case we needed it for Brexit. Ironically, we needed it for lockdown. So we did always have enough food. We always had enough toilet rolls, but they didn't bloody listen, did they? I mean, who decided that that was necessary? We had one poor sod locally who had a market stall. Because of lockdown, he couldn't open his market stall, so he put his stuff outside his house and an honesty box so that people could buy toilet rolls, because that's what he did. Well, he did other stuff, kitcheny stuff and that, and kitchen roll and that kind of thing. So he put them outside his front door, and somebody painted graffiti over it because they thought he'd just bought them all. I mean, all right, if you had bought them all, would you put them outside your house? Oh, look, I've got the bog rolls. I'm the one. Think outside the box. So we did always have enough. And the supermarkets have had a rip-roaring success during the time that small businesses have been crushed. So it's really doubly important that you try and support small businesses where you can. Getting your eggs off the eggman, milk deliveries. There are people still doing it. They're all little things. But this is part of pushing back. And so the other part of pushing back is you putting yourself first. You understanding that you have needs. You have the need to feel good about your day. Like yesterday, it was warm, wasn't it? It was a nice day. So I cut my hair, and I can't be asked going to hairdressers. So I've chopped my hair off. I feel it looks better. So I feel better about myself. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with treating yourself to going out for a cake or whatever it is you're doing. That is part of us fighting back, because it's that freedom of choice. It's that movement of you deciding to go to Blackpool for the day, wherever you want to go. It's that freedom of movement that eventually they're going to try and stop. So it's like somebody says, like trying to herd cats. Good luck. Trying to herd cats, you've no chance, have you? So while we're all moving about and doing things, they can talk, can't they? But I think if they did try anything again, especially with something on the style of a lockdown, I think they'd struggle. I really think they'd struggle, because you can only get one chance to make a first impression. So you only get one chance to fool people, don't you? You know, once you're caught out, you're caught out, and they've been caught out that it wasn't needed. Even the dumbest of the dumb know it wasn't needed, and even people that are in charge of the inquiry into lockdown know it wasn't needed, and have reprimanded the government for the outlandish decline that it's caused with our economy. I mean, you know, I feel surely agree with me on this. I think we knew that. I think like us non-political types that are just, you know, getting up in the morning, brushing our teeth, I think we knew that it was going to crash the economy, that it was going to make it really dire, as bad as it's ever been in the last 50 years. Why didn't they know? Why didn't they know that? Why didn't Mark Hancock know that? Because they're not part of society. They're above it, not in a betterment way. They're looking down on it. That's how this is how I see it. This is how I see it from my mind's eye. I think there's us down there living our life like a farmer looking at his stock and deciding what to do with it. They're not needed anymore. Yeah, we'll have them. They should be able to have kids, you know, reproduce. And they see themselves as here. They see themselves as here and looking down on us. When really, it's us they should be looking up to, because it's our sovereignty. It's our controls that we surrender to them on trust. That's how it works. A lot of people don't understand how politics works. The government's made up of two sides. It's the opposition and the ones actually in power. It's His Majesty's government. But forget the individual. Think of the office of His Majesty, Her Majesty, whoever it is. It's a monarchy government. And the thing that's been missing in that monarchy government is an opposition. That's the bit we haven't had. Now we're on a different footing now, because we've 5 people in the Commons that think like us, that see what we see, that want what we want. Now, before that, we didn't have many. In fact, there was only one man, Andrew Bridgen, speaking out about anything. So leading on to my next point, because of this wonderful freedom rally that went without a hitch, apart from a couple of drunks that got arrested, par for the course with a crowd of 30,000, it's been mentioned that Nigel Farage wasn't at the event. I'm going to put my slant on why I think he wasn't. He wouldn't go to an event like that anyway. He's a politician trying to get into politics. He's been at it 20 years fighting the establishment, fighting the globalist grip on society by being in Europe. He's been banned from restaurants in Brussels, people spitting at him in the street, eggs being thrown at him, his wheel nuts coming off his Volvo. Yeah, they always come off, don't they, on Volvos, nice reliable Swedish car like that, and an aircraft crash. He's certainly put the effort in, and he's only just got a foot in the door after all those years. He's only just got a foot in the door of Westminster, and he's far better being a neutral figure on things like this than siding with someone, whoever that person is, even if it's Tommy, whoever that person is that's got like this Marmite thing to him where you either think he's marvellous or you think he's a wrong un, that kind of thing. You can't afford to associate yourself with that, whoever that is. It's not personal. It's whoever that person is once you've got in the House of Commons, because there is things within what they sign up to, the stuff, legislation, where they cannot be seen to be doing X, Y and Z. Now, unfortunately, just a couple of days after this successful Freedom March, which had nothing to do with anything, some loon decides to murder 3 innocent, well, he would have done more if he could, decides to go on a killing spree. That's the only way I can describe it. 2 events have nothing to do with each other. The events that unfold after are just people reacting. Now, the government tried to control that reaction into sadness and sympathy, but there's anger. They just don't show you the anger. But sometimes the anger breaks free, and I also don't put it past authority figures, especially with the Labour government, to have agitators pretending to be on the wrong side or on the right side. Do you get what I'm saying? To make it look worse, to make it look more thuggery. I don't condone violence. I don't think you can. I think you can get through life without violence, and you know, it's sad to see it come from the police, but it's sad to think we've gone down this road. We're here now. We have to handle it. But I think Nigel Farage, being a neutral figure in what's gone on and just making his comments about Southport, has been the right choice for a serving politician. Now, the thing about it is, even though he did all that, he talked about what went on. He said how dreadful it was and how moved he was by what's gone on. And he was so neutral that even other commentators, left-wing commentators, have come out and tried to say that he's incited violence. He's incited the things that unfolded afterwards. One of them being Brendan Cox. Do you remember Joe Cox, who got killed by an attacker while she was in a surgery, I think. You know, she's a serving MP, left-wing, very left-wing, believed in the white helmets. We won't go down that road. I've got my own view on that because I did a lot of work on that crisis when it was kicking off in Syria. Her husband, Brendan, who was, you know, he was married to a lovely girl, a hero, worshipped by the Labour Party, and obviously does not deserve a life ending the way it did at all. Dreadful. But he's no hero. I mean, there's dubious reports about him, and I think it was some sort of like sexual offence at work, you know, coming on to people. I'm not sure what it was, you'll have to Google it, but it's up there, you can find it. Who the hell are you, Brendan Cox, to start saying things like that about Nigel Farage? Your own reputation is sullied. You might not want to think so, but you see, if I was him, if that was me in those shoes, I'd be cringing. I'd be cringing if I'd been accused, caught out, whatever you want to call it, of doing something like that. I wouldn't be going on grandstanding on Radio 4 telling people that Nigel Farage has used inflammatory language. He didn't use inflammatory language at all. In fact, there's a GB News clip of him talking about this. You can Google it. I think I might have shared it on my Twitter. That's dreadful to me because you're in no position to judge. So getting back to Nigel, I think he made the right shout, and I think he should continue to be like that because he's under more scrutiny now he's in Parliament. And believe me, even though there is scrutiny, he'll be under it. He'll be under the microscope. He'll be the equivalent of watching parliamentary protocols. He'll be under the equivalent of what GB News is with Ofcom. That's where we sit. So he has to play very cautious now because he's a serving MP, which it's great to see when you go on his page and it says Nigel Farage MP. Brilliant. We have made such leaps forward. We're not under the health passport. I'm just doing a refresher now. We haven't signed up to the health passport. Sadly, it cost us 35 billion to not have it. Why didn't you just not do it? We didn't all take up the booster, only 3% of the nation overall. Considering 95% joined in the first two, that is a result. The Pfizer documents were supposed to be covered for 75 years. They were released. That was public pressure. That was people pushing back about it. There's all these things that we have done that is part of the push. We didn't even realise we were we did realise we were doing it, but you know what I'm saying? We're all part of this. And it just, our side can only grow in strength. We can't get weaker. We can only dislike the government that's in more. That's all that can happen. We can't get any weaker. Because as things unfold, events and injuries and stuff like that unfolds and more families are affected, more people will see what we're talking about. And more people are already doing it. People, with the weather situation, where it's being talked up that apparently we need to pay more tax to calm the planet down. It's always funny that, isn't it? Taxes can cool planets. Marvellous. So it's all coming out in the wash. And the best thing that you can do is talk to your friends. You don't have to be heavy-handed. You don't have to make it unpleasant. I mean, I do sometimes because I get a bit worked up. But just talk gently about it. David did it the other day at the golf club because he said about not trusting the mainstream media, and his friend who's in his mid-70s said, "Oh, what do you mean you don't trust the media?" And a clue. So David just said, "Well, you don't trust the BBC, do you?" And he thought, like, the BBC? Of course I do. It's one of these. And it'd drive me mad to play golf with somebody like that. I'd be wanting to chase him with bloody golf club. David's far calmer. And he said, "No, I don't trust the BBC." And he mentioned a few instances, and he just said, "They gave us Jimmy Savile as a children's entertainer. Think about that one. They knew about it. That's your starting point. They knew about that. You don't need to go any further back than that. They knew about it." And then he mentioned about Lineker's wages and all the other things where the BBC covered up about Hugh Edwards, and he's been convicted now. That was another thing on Twitter, wasn't it, where they were accusing people of jumping the gun. But the ones that had jumped the gun had actually got it right, hadn't they? So the thing is, the valuable thing is to just talk to people. You know, that man will have gone home and probably told his wife, Dave doesn't trust the BBC, why not? Then he'll have told her why not, and then she'll be thinking about it. And I know that because she come on my page, having a look at what I talk about. So all of a sudden, she's curious. You've got to stimulate the curiosity to join in. If you go around telling them they've got it wrong, nobody wants to be told they've got it wrong. It's like when, I had my retail business. If somebody came and said, "Oh, we got our stuff from so-and-so, so-and-so," I wouldn't go, "Oh, well, they're a load of rubbish," even though I probably thought it. I'd go, "Oh, right, did you?" I'd just get off the subject. I've never had to sell anything on the downside of someone else's product. So if you use that as a guideline when you're talking to people about what you believe in, you saying you're right, telling them they're wrong, is never going to work. What you've got to do is stimulate their curiosity. You've got to make them want to know more. And then you can see it because they'll ask you questions. And then you can recommend your bloggers. Neil Oliver, top drawer. because he's interesting, he's calm, he's rational, he's not particularly antagonistic, is he? He's a good one to start with. And the chronology of his YouTube page, you can pop on any time and watch any of his videos. So that's an easy one to do, to push forward. Depending on your age group, you could push Russell Brand. He's got a YouTube channel, very interesting, more edgy, but it'll hold your interest. So there's other things you can do, but the way to go about it is to stimulate their interest in wanting to know rather than telling them they've got it wrong. Because I would react like that. You know, it's natural. If somebody tells you you've got it wrong, you're going to defend your thinking. So it's not really a good move. Just get them curious. Just go, you know, look at them and go, come on. You're not telling me you haven't worked it out yet. Bolster their ego. Because that, you know, most of them, I actually am surprised. I think you're quite intelligent. Why haven't you worked it out? I'm sure you would have worked it out. You bolster them up, and then they'll want to know more. But you won't get anywhere telling them they've got it wrong. So that's what you can do when you say, well, how do you wake them up? That's how you wake them up. You wake them up by stimulating curiosity. So, 5 a day. Today's 5 a day. I'm going to the groomers. I don't mean Rochdale. I mean my dog groomers. Little Elsie is going for a second groom since we got her. And my dog groomer's lovely. She's right kind. She massages them when she's shampooing them. I took a video of her in the bath. Because I stayed. I said, can I stay? Because she's not been before. And yeah, of course you can. She's right easygoing. She's a smashing lass. And so she's like, oh, being put in sink. She's looking at me as if to say, oh, what are they doing to me? And they're all making, you're all right, little Elsie. They're right nice to her. So they warmed her up, you know, with water and start shampooing. And she's rubbing her shoulders like this, doing damp shoulders. And the dog's going. And I thought, I used to look like that when I was younger at certain times during the evening with my Dave. Glazing over. So I'm going to the groomers, so I'm looking forward to seeing her when she's finished, and she'll love it. I don't know about your dogs, but when my dogs have been groomed, I think they must feel better, trimmer, you know, like lighter, whatever. They seem to be happier, and she's nice with them too. And I'll be in the garden. I'm doing some gardening later today, but only fannying around, no big stuff, you know, stuff I can enjoy. And tonight we're having king prawn kebabs on the barbecue. Can't wait. Smothered in garlic butter. It'll be dripping down my face, honestly. My food. I do look forward to my food. So that's always one of my 5 a day. 5 a day being, if you've not watched me before, 5 good things that are happening to you in your day. So picking my dog up from the groomers. Obviously, being with them both, that's really 3. Dave's going out. He says he's got me a surprise. Could be anything. I'm going to put it down as a good thing, giving the benefit of the doubt. Because last time he came back with a blower for the garden, with a big smile on his face. It was for me. A nice lightweight one, battery operated. It's a belter actually. I haven't told him, but I use it inside because I've got tile floors downstairs. Saved a shed load of work. I just get my blower. I get the dogs outside because I don't like the noise. Get the blower. Blows up doggers towards door. Sensational. But you can imagine when somebody says they've got you surprised, you don't expect to blow a dear men. I did a few years ago tell him that he had to stop buying me domestic appliances and calling them treats. That's not a treat. That's not a treat. 2 tickets on a Caribbean cruise. That's a treat. Not a friggin' Hoover.